Okay, well, it is 2:02, about to be 2:03, and I don't see too many more people trickling in. So we will go ahead and get started so we can be respectful of your time. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Serena Bumpus, and I am the CEO for the Texas Nurses Association. And I'm so glad to see all of you here and your interest in potentially running for an elected position with TNA. Since I've been in this role for the last 2 years, I have seen a lot of engagement, a lot of really new faces to TNA, which is very, very exciting for me, because that has been one of my goals, is to either re-engage individuals or to engage people who have not had the opportunity to engage so far. So it's good to see some familiar faces on the call and new faces as well. So what I want to do is, and what we're going to do today is take you all through sort of a little bit of an orientation to TNA, as well as an orientation into the positions that are on the ballot for this next year in 2025, and then give you all an opportunity, hopefully, to ask any questions that you may have. So we'll go ahead and get started. And just as hopefully, can you all see my screen? Let me just make sure you can see my screen before I move forward. Okay, thank you, Jinsu. So this is, just as a reminder, Texas Nurses Association, our mission is to empower Texas nurses to advance the profession. And the vision for that is that nurses are the ones who are driving and transforming healthcare. There is no better time than right now in the state of healthcare for nurses to engage, to make sure they have a seat at all of the tables. And TNA really wants to be a facilitator of that. And that goes a lot along with our values of respect, integrity, excellence, diversity, and courage. TNA is over 100 years old. It started as the Texas Graduate Nurses Association and was founded by Jenny Beatty and A. Louise Dietrich. These were two innovators and just masterminds long before many of us were stepped forward to do this sort of thing. And over the years, TNA has been very instrumental in implementing policies to protect nurses in Texas. We were one of the first states in the nation. We were the first state in the nation to implement safe harbor peer review. There's only one other state in the country who has that. We're the only state in the country that has nursing peer review. And these are just a few of the statewide protections in place for nurses that we're very fortunate to have. TNA is the voice of Texas nurses. We were, like I said, over 100 years old. We are the oldest and the largest professional nursing organization in Texas. We currently have 16,283 members. That was as of August 31st, 2024. But that's not good enough for me. We need more because we have 400,000 nurses in Texas. And we'll get to that and why that's important here in just a minute. TNA provides a variety of continuing education. We do practice protections. We have a practice helpline that our director of practice, Dr. Laura Kinchlow, is responsible for. We give out, hopefully you all are getting our weekly e-newsletters in your email and our quarterly magazine in your email. Our biggest niche, though, is legislation and making sure that nurses have the support that they need here in Texas. We also have the Texas Nurses Foundation, which is the charitable arm of TNA. It does have its own board of directors. That board of directors is appointed by the TNA board. We do put a call out for those board positions, and we have an application process that usually occurs in the springtime. And then the foundation board makes recommendations for any additional positions that need to be filled. We also operate in collaboration with the Board of Nursing, the Texas Peer Assistance Program for nurses. And so this is just the operational structure of the organization. We have the TNA family of corporations. We have a legal department. We have operations and human resources, finance, communications. And then you have the two entities between TNF and the foundation that fall below those operational departments. And so I think it's always just, you know, good information as you're stepping into these positions and your interests to get a good understanding of how TNA operates. In addition, you know, for those of you who may not be aware, I'm learning as I've made my rounds across the state and talked to nurses that many of our members are not aware of the benefits that they get of being a TNA and an ANA member. So as you all know, you have a dual membership with ANA and TNA. You have the exclusive resources as a member that, you know, other members don't have. You can get all of your continuing education through TNA and even with ANA as well. If you're not familiar with our learning management system that you have access to for free as a member, I encourage you to go in and take a look at the learning activities that we have available to you. Because again, you can get all 20 of your continuing hours for your licensure renewal with us alone. Of course, you have the opportunity for networking and mentoring and engagement opportunities, but then you also have a variety of discounts that you have access to as well. Malpractice insurance through the Nursing Services Organization. Every nurse, regardless of what position you're in, you should have malpractice insurance. I still have it, even in this role that I'm in today. Gym memberships, travel discounts, and as of January of 2024, you get a discount for your national certifications as well. Our governance structure, it starts with our members. Our members are our primary stakeholders of the organizations. They're the ones that vote on our elections and in our bylaws. We are responsible for making sure that we're giving feedback in our information on what we're doing to our members. That usually occurs during our annual meeting, that happens during our annual conference. That's where we provide report outs to our members. We have advisory discussions, etc. And then our board of directors is the group that is providing the ongoing oversight of the organization as a whole. And they're making sure that I'm doing my job. I'm the only employee of the board of directors. I am accountable and I'm responsible for reporting to them. And when you look at our overall governance structure, the board of directors is the governing body of the organization. And then we have several councils and committees that fall underneath that. So we have our policy council and its subcommittees, our government affairs committee. We have the leadership succession committee, which is a committee that you have to be elected to. Audit and finance bylaws. And then we also have other programmatic committees such as nursing professional development or communications, awards, HIT scholarship. And then we added some new committees this year. We now have our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging committee, our early career nurse committee, which is for nurses who have less than 5 years of experience. You know, TNA as of January 2024 now allows LVNs to join as a state-only membership. And so we have created an LVN committee to engage that group as well. And then we have our nursing practice committee. And so all of these committees make recommendations that then ultimately filter up towards the board of directors and who make a final decision and approval and help guide our strategic plan. And when we look at how TNA develops its policies, you know, it's because policy is such a big component of the work that we do. You notice that we have our policy council and our government affairs committee. And those two entities are really the driving forces of policy creation and policy enaction or implementation. And so the policy council and its 3 subcommittees are the ones working toward making recommendations on what TNA's policy positions should be, specifically leading into a legislative session. And they create position papers, issue briefs, etc. And that information is then filtered up through the board of directors who ultimately has the final approval. Once that approval is made by the board of directors, the government affairs committee is then the group that takes that the policy to enact it. And they are the ones that are helping us engage with our legislators, educating them on what and why these policy issues are so important to help us drive home you know, what we hope will, you know, be enacted in legislation to support nurses across Texas. And one thing that I am trying to message to nurses across the state and even nationally, not even just within Texas, is that our voices do matter. And there is never a more important time to engage with your state association, because your state association is really the driver of legislation for nurses. And we can't drive that legislation or that policy on our own without our members. And it's really hard as an individual to impact policy by yourself. And so when we think about what influence looks like, it's really as an individual and the association coming together, which is really where our voices are the most powerful. And I say that because, as I had mentioned earlier, we have close to 400,000 nurses here in Texas. And I mentioned earlier that we only have 16,000 of those nurses who are members of the Texas Nurses Association. And statewide, on average, there's only about 28,000 nurses in total who are members of a professional organization. Nationally, that number is less than 10%. And we have 5.2 million nurses in the country. When we talk about our physician colleagues, there are only 78,000 physicians in Texas, and 98% of them are members of the Texas Medical Association. So when you think about a voice of individuals coming together as one, when 98% of physicians are members of their professional organization, that voice is very, very powerful. And they also have their political action committees that then move their legislation forward even more. So if you can imagine the voice that we could have as one together, if we had more than 16,000 nurses as members of the TNA, we could do a whole lot of good. We are the most trusted profession, yet the least influential when it comes to advocating and moving policy forward. When you think about the work that TNA has done over the years, TNA has led a lot of initiatives to ensure that nurses have the ability to practice safely and have the protections that they need to do that as well. And because of TNA, as I mentioned earlier, we do have the right to safe harbor and nursing peer review. We do have some of the strongest whistleblower protections in the country. Nursing, the title of nurse is restricted to RNs and LVNs only in this state. Not every title protection is not something that every state has. And I don't know, veterinarians in the Veterinarian Association is actually creating these positions called veterinary nurses. And so how confusing could that potentially be for the public? Our facilities, staffing, our facilities are required to have staffing committees. That includes nurses who are making staffing decisions and recommendations. Facilities are prohibited from requiring mandatory overtime. Believe it or not, that is not in every state. Our facilities are required to adopt policies minimizing manual lifting in our organizations. And so, those are just a few things. There's a whole slew of other issues that TNA has brought forward and been very successful with. But these are some of the really big ones. In addition, in this last session that happened in 2023, we now have workplace violence prevention protections as well. So in the 88th legislative session, the very first bill that was passed in the session was our workplace violence prevention bill, which requires hospitals to have workplace violence prevention committees and also provides protection for nurses who report workplace violence. It is also now a felony to assault a healthcare worker on hospital property, not just an emergency department nurse. And we also had more than $84 million that was appropriated to programs that we have currently in the state to address the nursing shortage, which was one of the single largest investments we've had in the history of nursing here in Texas. And all of this happened because we were able to bring nurses together who were able to tell their stories to our elected officials and make an impact. Nurse Day at the Capitol is held every legislative year. Our legislature occurs in the odd years. And we had just over 600 nurses join us at the Capitol. Our goal, our next nurse day at the Capitol is March 3rd and 4th, and our goal is to have more than 600 nurses there this year. Because we really think that it's very powerful and very influential for nurses to be at the front and center and telling their stories. We can provide the facts, but your stories are what make an impact. I want to share a little bit with you about our strategic plan. I think this sets the stage for some of the work that, for those of you who are interested in being on the board of directors, the board of directors is the group that sets the strategic plan for the organization. And we have a 5-year strategic plan. We are currently in year 3 of that strategic plan, and it really centers around these 4 pillars of sustainability, membership, policy, and the profession. And sustainability is focused on making sure that we as an organization are being good stewards of our financial resources, that we are looking at ways to ensure that we maintain our financial stability, as well as that we have the infrastructure and resources as a team, as a staff, to carry this strategic plan forward. From a membership perspective, this includes growing our membership. So we have a goal to increase membership by 5% year over year through the strategic plan, which means by the end of this fiscal year, which ends June 30, we want to be just over 16,900 members. We have been making really great progress so far this fiscal year, and if we keep that, we'll actually exceed that goal. So fingers crossed that we continue the momentum that we've gotten. As I mentioned, policy is really, our niche. And so we are working right now on creating our policy positions, moving into this next legislative session, as well as creating some opportunities for nurses to engage in policy and get more into policy. And then the profession is all about the resources that we can use to support nurses, whether that includes education, or other resources that the profession can use. That's the areas of focus that we're centered on. You can actually see our strategic plan in more detail on our website if you are interested in that. I'm kind of going through some of this a little bit quickly, just so we can get to the meat of really what you're here for. We also offer a lot of other opportunities to engage. So you may be interested in a board position, and after we go through the different positions, you may say, oh, I might not have time for that. But we do have other opportunities for you to engage, which includes being part of some of those committees and task forces. So we put the call out for committees every April, and the board appoints those committee members in June. So then we can start those committees in July. We have other micro volunteer opportunities. So maybe you just need a one-time opportunity that you're interested in. And so a good example of that is we currently have a call out right now for individuals to help us doing abstract reviews for our poster and podium presentations at our annual conference. So this is a one-time micro volunteer opportunity where you can, give back within a short duration of time. Of course, board leadership is a big one that we're going to talk about today. But we also have our annual, our monthly nurse talk series. This is the second Thursday of every month, and we want our members to present their work at Nurse Talks. And so, if you are doing something really good that you think should be disseminated across the profession, please reach out to us and let us know. Practice tip of the week, that's in your weekly e-newsletter that you get every Tuesday evening. Dr. Kinchlow is always looking for people to write those practice tips. They're very short, sweet, 500 words at the most, just as a way to engage nurses on various topics and how to handle various situations. Of course, we also have our quarterly magazine if you would like to publish in that. Our annual conference this year will be in Austin on June 5th through 7th. And we have incorporated poster and podium presentations into our conference. I want this to be the Texas version of Magnet, if you will. That's my vision. And so, we're going to have this year, we have grown these poster presentations over the years. We have, over the last 2 years, we've added podium presentations. This year, the goal is to have 100 posters at the conference and upwards of 32, 35 podium presentations for concurrent sessions. So if you For those of you on the call today, if you are interested, the call for abstracts for poster and podium presentations will go out October 1st. And I encourage you and your organizations to engage with us. And then, of course, Nurse Day at the Capitol is just a way for you to dip your toes into advocacy, and we do all the work for you. So I encourage you to set aside March 3rd and 4th and block that off on your calendar, request your PTO, whatever you need to do to join us. That registration is open on our website. So let's talk about what we're really here for, is to learn about the positions on the ballot. So our 2025 ballot will consist of 2 positions on our TNA Board of Directors. That will be the position of President-elect, which is a 4-year term, our Secretary, which is a 2-year term, and then other positions that are elected outside of the Board of Directors include our Leadership Succession Committee, which is a 2-year term. We're looking to fill 4 seats for that group. And then we have our ANA Membership Assembly Rep, which is a 1-year term, so that's just a shorter commitment, and we have 7 positions to fill. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Board of Directors, their accountabilities, their responsibilities, and then specifically talk about the positions a little bit. And then I'll move into the other available positions that we have on the ballot this year. So our Board of Directors, many of you may have already been and served on a board. But one of the things I've noticed in this role in orienting new board members is that our board is very different from your traditional volunteer nurse board. And part of that is because you have a staff of 15 people who are supporting the board. And so a lot that the work of the board is really about making sure that you're governing the organization, not operating the organization. The board also includes, as I mentioned earlier, as a CEO of the organization, I am the board's employee and I am responsible and accountable for carrying out the strategic vision of the board. The board is responsible for its own succession planning and leadership development, and in attending board meetings and being an ambassador of the organization. Board governance is making sure too that we're, meeting our mission and that our purpose is in our mission is driving our work. That we're building a competent and effective board, as well as monitoring and strengthening the programs that we have currently going on in the organization, and that we have the right financial resources, and that the board is also responsible for protecting the the assets of the organization, and that we are ensuring that we have legal and ethical integrity as an organization as well. So the board of directors, as an individual board of director, member of the board of directors, you have 3 duties: the duty of care, the duty of obedience, and the duty of loyalty. And when you look at this it really, as an individual, what this means is that these duties are, you wear many hats. And so when you join the board of directors, it shouldn't fulfill a self-serving purpose. You need to look at it from the purpose of the membership and the profession as a whole. And so we have to take our individual hats off, which includes our other obligations that we have to other nursing organizations, our political groups, religious organizations, some of those causes that are held near and dear to our hearts. Sometimes we have to set those aside as board members to make sure that what we're doing meets the interest of the organization and the members that this organization serves. And so it's all about doing what's in the best interest of TNA and our TNA members, not our employers, our political parties, our geographical area, our best friend, whatever the case may be. So the board does carry being on the board carries a very big responsibility. In addition, there are some other expectations and responsibility of the board, and all of our board members each year that they serve, they are required to participate in and sponsor themselves in all of our TNA major events, which would include our annual conference, Nurse Day at the Capitol, any fundraisers that we may have, or, galas or banquets that we may have. If the board isn't bought into attending those, no one else is going to be either. So that is why the board has set that expectation for themselves. They all are also responsible for recruiting at least 5 members annually. Many of them are very successful in recruiting more than that, which of course is what we hope for. They are required to serve as a liaison to one of our committees, one of the many committees that you saw on the other slide. And then each board member has to write or raise $500 a year for our PAC, which is our Political Action Committee, and for the Nursing Foundation. And so when we say write or raise, that means you can write a personal check or give us your credit card to, donate your $500, or you can raise that money yourself. There are some expenses that we do reimburse board members for, and that reimbursement expense can be part of your write or raise, and you can donate that to either the foundation or the PAC as well. So let's talk about the president-elect position. So this is a 4-year term. So the president-elect serves 1 year as the president-elect. This is their opportunity to get themselves acclimated to the role, to be mentored by the current president, which right now is Dr. Amy McCarthy. And just really, take it all in and watch and observe what's happening. And that takes place July 1st of 2025. That is when this whoever is elected into this position would start. Then they would serve 2 years as board presidents and then 1 year as past president. So it is a 4-year commitment in total if you're elected into this position. The qualifications, excuse me, include making sure that your membership with TNA and ANA is active, that you demonstrate prior active involvement or participation with ANA, TNA, or your local district, that you have some familiarity with the TNA bylaws and our association policies. We have a basic knowledge of parliamentary law and procedures. Y'all, I know that's dry and is not necessarily good reading by any means, but just to have some basic knowledge of when you make a motion and voting and that sort of thing. We have Jack, who is our Director of Government Affairs and Legal Counsel, to help get into the weeds and understand all the other little details around that. And then the president-elect should have prior experience as an elected or appointed member of the TNA board, a TNA committee or council, or have other board experience, which includes being a district president. The time commitment for this. So, excuse me, the board does meet quarterly. We have 2 in-person meetings in Austin in July and January. Those in-person meetings last over 2 full days. And then we have quarterly, our other quarterly meetings occur in October and April, and those are virtual, and those are just 1-day meetings. We do have some ad hoc meetings in between that. Specifically, we will have a monthly meeting with all of the district presidents and the board of directors as a way to engage our district presidents and get them engaged. But the other commitment that is a monthly, that's a board liaison to a TNA committee, which is usually a monthly meeting that you would attend, and you would be the representative to the board of directors and represent the board in that meeting. The president-elect also is one of the constituent members to the ANA membership assembly. And we'll talk about membership assembly in more detail later. But the role of the president-elect, president, and past president, they will attend membership assembly each year. And of course, more importantly, is being an ambassador of the organization. The president, once this individual gets into the president role, they are, between myself and the president, or even sometimes together, we will go out into the districts and into the other areas to meet our members and talk with them and learn more from them, so we can do environmental scanning and to really help continue to make sure that we're taking that strategic direction of the organization forward. So on average, the time commitment annually for president, president-elect, and even past president varies anywhere from 10 to 20 days each year. Our secretary position is a 2-year term. Again, the qualifications for this position is that you're holding a current membership with TNA and ANA, that you have evidence of participation in the American Nurses Association, your state nurses association, which is TNA, or your district level organizations through either elective office or appointment to a committee. You do need to indicate that your ability to meet the demands and fulfill the duties to this position as well. The time commitment for this position goes, again, is anywhere from 10 to 12 days annually. The secretary is required to attend the quarterly board meetings as well. They are a very key position because they're taking the minutes. They have to maintain accurate minutes of our meetings and submit those for approval. This includes any motions that are taken in discussion items that need to be followed up on. The secretary, in the absence of the president-elect or past president, will be the next in line to attend membership assembly if those individuals aren't able to attend. And again, every member of our board is an ambassador of the organization, and all of our board members at any point in time can engage with our districts and be an ambassador of the organization. So those were our 2 board positions that are available. And now I'm going to move into our leadership succession committee, and then move into ANA membership assembly. And so our leadership succession committee is the group of individuals who slate our ballots for us. And these individuals, again, must be a member of TNA and ANA. They must have the knowledge of state, district, and organizational activities, and have some experience at the state or district level. And you know, if they've served as a TNA board of director, or they've served in some sort of state level committee, that counts towards their qualifications as well. So the time commitment for this, you know, because the leadership succession committee is responsible for identifying the best qualified candidates for any open position that we have on our ballot, it means that they need to create a strong ballot. And that requires these committee members to be committed and actively engaged in reaching out to TNA members throughout the state, so that they can recruit those qualified candidates and identify those individuals to run for an elected position. And so what this means is that these individuals are able to commit to attending anywhere between 2 to 4 1 or 2 hour meetings between September 1st and December 31st every year, that they have the capacity and time to contact potential candidates, because they have that direct responsibility for developing, implementing, and slating that ballot. That succession planning and making sure that we have a strong board and we have strong members who are elected into these elected positions is really, really important for the longevity of the organization. And so membership assembly is a really, really unique opportunity for our members to engage at a really different level. So ANA membership assembly is the highest governing body of the American Nurses Association. And every state has a defined number of delegates that they're supposed to bring to membership assembly. Texas is allotted a total of 9 delegates. 2 of those delegates are board members, the president-elect or past president, whichever year we're in. And then we have 7 other elected delegates. And so the expectations of this position is that the individual who is elected in, or who is even considered running for membership assembly, they must be able to commit to fully supporting themselves financially in getting to Washington, DC, because ANA membership assembly is every year annually in Washington, DC. This year, I just wrote these dates down because I was in a call right before this and they announced when next year's membership assembly would be. And so the 2025 membership assembly is scheduled for June 26th, 27th, and 28th. So June 26th is always the ANA Hill Day. So this is the opportunity to talk with your congressman or congresswoman at the federal level. And then the 27th and 28th is the membership assembly itself. There is a lot of preparation that is required to get ready for membership assembly. This means that you have a lot of materials that need to be reviewed. Membership assembly is either making recommendations to the ANA Board of Directors, or they are setting the direction of the ANA organization as it pertains to policies. And so, for example, 2 years ago at the ANA membership assembly, one of the policy positions that was put forward was for ANA to support staffing ratios. And I'm going to take a step back just a second. So all of the policy positions recommended policy positions are submitted by our members. And so you should see emails from ANA, usually sometime January, February-ish, at a call for policy positions for ANA membership assembly. And this is a time for ANA's members to submit recommendations on positions that ANA should take, or research that they might do to inform a policy position. And this is discussed during what we call dialogue forums at the membership assembly. And so usually there are always 3 policy positions that are submitted. So I use the staffing ratio one because that was a very, very contentious and robust discussion at membership assembly. And after all of the dialogue takes place, then the members vote on the recommendations that have been made. And so this is why it's really important, one, that whoever is elected to the membership assembly position is able to fully commit to this position, because if we don't have all of our voting members, we don't get all of our votes. And we want to make sure that this group is representing TNA's position for the state and for our organization. There are several membership assembly orientation sessions that you have to attend prior to membership assembly. And then when at membership assembly, again, we ask that you fully commit to that, because there are a lot of general sessions, a lot of meetings, and that's how you are informed. And that's how, as a delegation, we're able to align together to submit our votes. This is also where the ANA elections happen. So, not every member is voting for an elected position at the ANA level. It is the membership assembly who votes for the president and the board members and other elected positions with ANA. And then post a membership assembly, the other piece that takes place or happens is that the membership assembly would then summarize and disseminate the information about your experience at membership assembly, the actions that were taken there, and we would disseminate that out to the rest of our membership. So the candidate qualifications for that, again, having an active TNA and ANA membership, that you've demonstrated active involvement either at the state or district level or with ANA. And again, that you have basic knowledge of parliamentary law and procedures. And again, I say basic because ANA does provide part of the orientation process to membership assembly is that you attend a parliamentary orientation session before going. And then the annual time commitment for membership assembly The prep time is usually around 6 to 8 hours. We review the materials together as a delegation. We attend the informational sessions, depending on if it's myself hosting the informational session, we'll hold it all together. Or they have some on-demand informational sessions that you would be expected to attend beforehand. Again, attendance at membership assembly. Membership assembly itself is 2 full days. The Hill Day is another day that's added right before that. And so then you also have to add in your travel time as well. And then after membership assembly, the commitment is usually around 4 hours just to, come together as a group and summarize what happens at membership assembly. So I leave this, our vision and our goal at TNA is that we're always going to listen to nurses, we are going to value nurses, and we're going to champion nurses. This is in the forefront of everything we do as an organization. This is what guides me as a CEO and even as a nurse. And so, again, because I want this to be the organization that nurses are most proud to be a part of in Texas. And we need all of you, and we need all of our nurses to be able to do that. So I thank you all for being here with us today and for your interest in the positions that we do have available. And I will open it up for questions now, if you have any. Just stop sharing my screen so I can see. And if you just want to use the raise hand function, then we can call on whoever might have questions. And there are no dumb questions, because I may have said something that wasn't very clear, and that's okay. Y'all, I know I didn't explain that clearly. Come with me.
I have a question. For membership assembly reps, what support on site do we have to kind of navigate the whole process?
When you say on site, do you mean
like once we're there? Like if you get there, if you get selected and you get there, what does that look like? And what can I expect if I'm never traveled outside of Texas before?
Good question. So ANA does a lot of good upfront work to make sure you all are prepped and you have the information. Getting to membership assembly, I have to submit everyone's names and email addresses to them, so then they communicate directly with the representatives. You get weekly emails leading up to membership assembly with all of the things that you need to do. And then once we get there, I am there. And then of course we have our president-elect, or past president. So president-elect and past president alternates each year depending on what year, who's in what position at that time. So there will always be those 2 individuals at membership assembly, and they are usually very well versed in that process as well. And then we always have a member of our team there too. So Jack came with me in 2023, Laura came with me in 2024, and then Elena will likely come with me in 2025. Elena is our director of nursing professional development, and so we'll always have an additional staff member there as well. And ANA has a very robust schedule for us to follow. They really try and make it very, very simple and easy for us to navigate the process. Thank you, Laura, for bringing that up. And I thought I saw someone else's hand.
So I had a question, I guess, in same line for membership assembly. Is one is I'm new to TNA and ANA, so just if I wanted to be considered for something like that, I missed the first part, so I don't know if it was talked about it. Where would I go? Second question is, I've attended through my association, so I work for Community Health Centers, and I go every year to Washington. So typically with them, the game plan is we seek out our representatives to sit with. It is being that there's only 9. How do you all split up, or is it similar? Do I just reach out to mine, or do you guys have somebody in line or people that maybe are, you know, the ones that we are pushing to support or anything like that? I'm just kind of curious how that, I guess, get outlined with only 9, and I'm sure it's 9 plus, each state has their own, right? But just kind of trying to understand, I guess, the setup.
Sure, no, that's a great question, Daniel. So, for Hill Day specifically, which is separate from membership assembly. So anyone can go to Hill Day, even if you're not elected as a membership assembly rep, you can attend ANA Hill Day. And ANA has a whole team of people on their policy team who makes the appointments for us to meet with our elected officials. And we have a set agenda of what we're going to talk with those elected officials about based on the policy positions that ANA has taken. So this last year, I'm already ready for 2025, y'all. Sorry. This year in 2024, some of the policy positions that we talked about were around the ICANN Act, which is taking down some of the barriers for advanced practice nurses. We also talked about the long-term care staffing rule for that was put in place by CMS. And we talked about the Nursing Shortage Reduction Act and the importance for Congress to continue the funding for the Nursing Shortage Reduction Act. And usually there's 4 or 5 policy positions that we are advocating for with our legislators. So, obviously we have 2 senators here, we have 2 senators in our states, and then we have 51-ish representatives. And so, we don't obviously 9 people, and even if just a handful of people go just to attend Hill Day, we still don't cover all of the reps. And so then it's my responsibility to go pass out all the folders to the people that we didn't hit. So.
Okay.
It helps me with that this year. But that's a great question.
Going back to the first one, and so how do I guess if I wanted to be part of the assembly, how do I get there?
So you would need to submit your application, your nomination application. Then the nomination and selection, the leadership succession committee would then make sure that you meet the criteria to run for that position, and then would reach out to you if you were slated on the ballots. And then once that happens, once you're elected, and this is with any elected position, if you do happen to win your election, then I get to reach out to you personally to let you know. And then we would be in communication with you all, giving you the details, specifically surrounding membership assembly. And Belinda can speak a little bit more to that nominations and election process in our policies. I see she has popped up on the screen there.
Hello, everyone. The nominating committee, leadership succession committee, will have a meeting in a couple of weeks, and the official call for nominations will go out on October 29th. It will show up first in the checkup, and then in a single subject email. It will link you to a space on the TNA website where you can access this recording of this event, as well as all of the forms, position descriptions, and information about who's on the Leadership Succession Committee this year. So, thank you.
Does that fully answer your question, Daniel?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is William Lissy, and first of all, I want to say thank you for this information session. I know we didn't really go in detail regarding the councils or the committees, but I was just very interested in serving in one of those committees or council, either as a member or chair. So how's that process, or how can I do that?
That's a great question. So in April every year, we will put the call out for committee members. So each of our committee positions is a 2-year term. You have the option to serve in 2 concurrent terms on a committee. And and all of our committees are appointed, so that call for committee goes out April 1st. It usually closes towards the end of April, mid-May-ish. And you would submit your information. That will go, that call will go out through checkup, a dedicated email. It will be on our website, on our social media pages. We usually try to use all of our avenues of communication to communicate that out. And once the call for committees closes, then we look at that slate of individuals who have submitted their information forward and their interests. You can pick which committees you're interested in being part of. And the recommendations that are put forward to the board are not only based off of interest, but also on geographic location. We want to make sure that we have good representation for members across the state on each committee versus from just one area of the state, as well as, maybe experience in a specific area that might provide value. We also try to really make sure that we're diversifying the individuals, and that our committees have not, diversity of thought as well as taking into account our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging initiative as well. Does that help answer your question? I know Belinda has her hand raised, and so Belinda, something you want to add? You're muted.
I think I didn't lower my hand. I think that's really what's that, but I think Serena explained that very well. The committee will, the staff will look at what are the issues we're going to be looking at in all the committees. We're going to look at the expertise that we need, and then we're going to make a recommendation to the board of directors along with a little background on the people that we are recommending, and they will make the final appointments. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do try to make sure that we're bringing in new members to our committees as well, so we can continue to have diversity of thought and engage people that have that want to be engaged or haven't been engaged before.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca.
Hi. You mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that you were looking for people to participate in the micro committees to do abstract reviewing. Is Jamie Hernandez still doing that, or is there someone else that we need to reach out to volunteer for that?
So Elena Diaz is now our Director of Nursing Professional Development. He has been with us since June. No, sorry. Mid-June. Sorry. And there is in your weekly checkup that you received, your newsletter that you got on Tuesday, I think it's a big green box in the middle of the email that talks about that call for abstract reviewers. And there's a link that you can click on to complete the form.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Well, again, this recording will be posted up on our website for you to reference back to. You're always welcome to reach out to any of us. TNA@texasnurses.org, will be the best email for you to send any questions to that you may have regarding the 2025 ballot, or just any general questions at all about TNA and being involved. Belinda is usually one of the individuals who will respond to that, or she'll forward it on to the appropriate person. So someone will respond to your inquiry, in a timely manner. So. Well, again, I thank you all for taking the time out to be with us for this hour in the middle of your day. And I hope to see your names on our ballot in 2025 or through our committees, whatever you might be interested in. And I look forward to working with you all and growing this great organization for our great profession. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.